Relationship advice. Update. My 23 female fiancé, 24 male, has gotten way too overweight, and I'm now having second thoughts about marriage. Original post. We've been together since we were 18. He proposed last April, to which I was so happy about. Back then, he was overweight by maybe 50 pounds. He'd gained this over the course of college. While it's of course not great, it also wasn't a deal breaker for me. I still enjoyed having intercourse with him, and he was still active enough that we could live a normal life and have fun together. Since then, he's gone on to gain nearly 100 more pounds in a little over a year. He weighs over 300 pounds. It's ridiculous at this point. I completely understand eating a crappy cafeteria vending machine microwave diet when you're in college, plus the stress and late nights studying, or partying, where snacking is standard. But this far exceeds that. His habits didn't improve after college. They just got worse. I've lived with him since our junior year, and can attest that he eats far more junk food now, not less. Despite me shopping and making healthy appropriately sized meals for the both of us. Not complaining about that, I actually love cooking and trying new recipes. I'm just pointing out he won't eat healthy, even though he doesn't have to put in any effort to do so. Also, to hell with food delivery apps, seriously. No hate at all to the drivers trying to make some money, but on the customer end? I feel like the sheer 24/7 instant access to fast food has almost become a crutch to him. He has to order something almost every day. Never mind the hole it's drilling in our budget. He can't seem to resist this constant availability, knowing he can get whatever he wants whenever he wants it, without even having to leave the house. This far predates quarantine, by the way. I can feel my interest in being intimate dwindling by the day. It feels horrible because I still love him for the person he is, but the physical part just isn't there anymore. It's a lack we both notice. The problem is, he's not particularly motivated to do anything about it because his libido has decreased in an inverse relationship to his weight gain. He basically figures, we're just equally not feeling like having much action these days. He doesn't connect that he's doing something to cause this. It's not just a fluke, and it's not only about his size either. It's also his tendency to just sit on the couch on his laptop and snacking all day. We used to do more things together. I've tried many times to get him to do stuff I know he's interested in, or used to be. But he usually turns it down in favor of the internet. I find it hard to find attraction to him when that's all he does with his day. I've tried talking to him about all this. He alternates between saying he's not that overweight, and saying it's not a big deal because he doesn't have any medical problems, but he can't know that for certain because he hasn't been to the doctor in a while. In general, he sidesteps my worries by making jokes and acting really casual about it. Our wedding plans are pending due to COVID, but we decided we'll probably go ahead with just a very small official ceremony in September. Being so close to making this commitment to him, as he is right now, is seriously starting to give me pause. I don't want my husband to be like this for the rest of his life. I don't want him to die young. I mean, 100 pounds in a year? So where is he by the time he's 30 at that rate? I'm not sure why he doesn't see a problem. He seems content with how things are. He says he isn't depressed. I haven't pushed it, but did ask a couple times and he didn't seem to understand why I was asking. I do know depression or other mental illness can cause things like this, and I know depression cannot always be seen by the people around you. But we are quite emotionally open with each other. He's never been a guy who struggles to talk about his feelings or problems, so this is unusual to me. He's caring towards me, goofy, and chipper as always in his daily attitude. His hygiene is fine. You wouldn't think anything was different if not for how he eats garbage and usually doesn't want to do anything that'd take him away from the computer or his phone for more than an hour. Could he still be depressed, do you think? What do I do about this? If he is struggling with something, I want to support him. On the other hand, if it's just laziness and not caring, I honestly don't think I could deal with that if it never changed. How do I tell the difference? Now for the top advice before reading the update. As harsh as it sounds, you may need to sit down with him and tell him exactly what you told us. Stress to him that this is a huge deal for you, and potentially is a deal breaker for you if things don't change. Sometimes, we don't realize how bad things have gotten until others give us a reality check. I wish you the best though. How do I get him to take me seriously? He's joked his way out of the conversation at least half a dozen times. Maybe I'm not being firm enough. Do not get married. Please don't get married. Do not consider marriage until this is solved, not a promise or plan, an actual solution demonstrated. It's not only about the weight. You are not on the same page about budgeting. You aren't enjoying the same activities. You aren't having bedroom action. You aren't communicating. Any one of these issues would be enough to pump the brakes. You guys need to solve all of these. Hit pause on the wedding and get counseling ASAP. If he doesn't understand this is a deal breaker, be blunt and honest and direct until he listens. Yeah, seriously, there's so much wrong with this relationship, and she's just having a hard time seeing it from the inside out. Han, it's bad from the outside in. Leave him, find someone who can keep up with you, who will be a part of the team and not dead weight. It doesn't even sound like he respects you because he keeps laughing off serious conversations. Jesus. Getting married is not going to solve this. Maybe calling a halt to the engagement will. He has a problem, and maybe something like you pulling the pin will wake him up from his food-induced stupor. At this stage it's about all you have left in your arsenal. Yeah, I guess I need to be honest about how it's becoming a deal breaker. Time for some honesty between you then. Instead of telling this to us, start telling it to him. It is time though for the, "I'm not happy and here is why" conversation. If you don't do it now, will you do it when he gets to 400 pounds? If you don't do it now, will you do it when he gets to 400 pounds? I can't even imagine. But I wouldn't have imagined 300 a couple years back either, so. And now for the update. Well, here goes. Not a great update. I took a number of suggestions on what to bring up to him and how to have the conversation about my concerns. He did the usual thing of trying to brush it off. I persisted, much more than I have before. Eventually I got my wish, he finally told the truth. Not easily, mind you, this was a several hours long ordeal. He did not want to come clean about anything. He has a weight gain fetish. Not me or someone else gaining weight, which I already knew was a thing, but him gaining weight. He's been doing all of this on purpose, for years. He said the beginning was unintentional, just eating too much junk at college. Then he realized he liked it. He also realized if he let himself balloon too much, I might bail, and he didn't want to lose me. So he had enough self-control to keep it at a moderate level, until I accepted his proposal last year. That was apparently the green light he needed to throw restraint to the wind, and start pursuing this fetish full speed ahead. I never had a single inkling of suspicion the entire time. I guess I can't blame myself for that, because dramatic weight gain is usually for the reasons I assumed. Depression or stress, or bad habits, or just getting comfortable and not caring. You never hear of actual motivations. I still feel like a complete and utter fool. Like I got played hard. This was not what I thought I was marrying into. When, if ever, was he going to tell me? He claims he would have, when it was the right time. What does that mean? Next week? Doubt it. Years in the future when we maybe have kids? More likely. Oh, and the reluctance to do anything requiring getting off the internet that I mentioned? That's because he's posting in forums and Discord fetish communities talking about it. All these people share weight gain tips and compare progress pictures of their bellies, and write adult roleplay stories. I'm truly disgusted. I've obliviously been sat right next to him countless times, while he gets off in his own little world. He has even discussed with random strangers how to keep me in the dark. Apparently the most common suggestion was, play dumb and make it into a running joke, so there's my explanation for why he constantly dismissed anything I said. Unbelievable. This has been going on right under my nose for years. I really cannot fathom how I could be so clueless. And that the person I thought I knew, had the gall, to not only intentionally make himself obese, but to hide his motivations from me, seek out advice on how to do that, and lie to me over and over when I attempted to talk about my worry. I expressed how I felt seriously betrayed, like our relationship had been built on a false pretense without my knowledge. He did apologize sincerely. He said he would try to lose weight. I asked, why is he only saying that now? Why did he refuse to discuss, let alone change anything all the other times I asked what was up? Leaving me to be confused and worried instead. He didn't have an answer. He just begged me to give him one chance and promised he'd stop and get healthier. My problem is, I just don't know if I can believe that. And even if he follows through, I don't know if I can get over being lied to. For years. I was so dumbfounded that I asked him to leave today. The conversation was last night, so I could collect my thoughts. He'll be back tomorrow night. 100% sure I want to call off the engagement. 80% sure I want to just bite the bullet and end the relationship. To hell with this. I absolutely love this man. Why did he have to do this? Now for some top comments. Damn, not only did he actively deceive you about this, he tried to trap you in a marriage so you'd have a harder time leaving when he decided to pursue it. That's pretty unforgivable. There are better people out there who won't play with you like this. Completely agree. He also gaslit her, on the advice of strangers. I think this could be viewed as a paraphilia, and if he wants to change, he'll need therapy. To be honest, I wouldn't stick around. He's dedicated years to keeping up this facade, lying to you until he feels you're sufficiently trapped and won't leave him. That's abusive as hell. It's so manipulative and devious. I guess the question is, could you ever trust him again? Can you trust that he doesn't have or will never have some covert desire to overfeed you secretly? Personally, I'd be unable to. I'd also seek counseling for myself, as you're feeling so conflicted, and a safe space to explore and process your feelings may help. End it. He had plenty of chances to come forth and be honest. Instead, he purposefully kept you in the dark and was planning on not even telling you until you had already committed in the form of marriage, and probably kids. Based off of the way he handled this, I cannot realistically see you being in a trusting, healthy relationship with this guy, where both of you are open, honest, and happy. Thank you. This is exactly what the rational part of me tells me, also what my mom said. Wow. This was not the ending I expected. For what it's worth, I think you should end the entire relationship. It's not about the weight, it's about the deceit. Even if he lost all the weight and you got married, how could you trust him to be honest with you in the future? About his weight or about anything? He's gone out of his way to gaslight and lie to you for years to fulfill his own fetish at the expense of your happiness and an honest relationship. It was clearly a deliberate choice and not an addiction. He was in control enough to limit his weight gain to stop you from leaving, until you agreed to marry him and he felt sure you wouldn't leave. And you're still incredibly young. You can do so much better. It was clearly a deliberate choice and not an addiction. He was in control enough to limit his weight gain to stop you leaving, until you agreed to marry him and he felt sure you wouldn't leave. Thanks for pointing that out. I asked someone else if it was some sort of addiction, but I should have realized it wouldn't be if he can choose to control it like that. Now for the last story. I, 31 male, am getting bitter with my fiancé's, 30 female, weight gain, and I don't know what to do. Help. I've been engaged to my fiancé for 6 months, who is an absolutely wonderful person. I love her dearly and we have a lot of fun together. She'll make a great mother, and makes me laugh in a way no one else can. I want to emphasize this, because I know a few comments will call that into question after what I'm about to write. Let's call her Mary. We've been together for 7 years, and she's always been naturally slim without having to work out. Obviously, as we progress through our 20s, our metabolism slows down a bit. A year prior to our engagement, she put on about 20 pounds. This hit her pretty hard and created a lot of insecurity about her body. She started layering herself up in thick sweaters, or super baggy t-shirts and sweats. Trying to be the supportive boyfriend, I'd kiss her and tell her I loved her when she was feeling down about not fitting into an old pair of jeans. That said, as supportive as I was, I began to feel bitter about her lack of resolve to fix it. We'd casually talk about it and I'd suggest she comes out jogging with me, to which she'd initially agree, but then become defensive and moody when the time came to actually go. I consulted a couple of close female friends of mine, who thought she might feel insecure about not being married yet. Most of her friends were already married, or about to be, and she might feel a little down. Right or wrong, this was suggested more than once, so I figure it could have a grain of truth to it. I planned on doing it anyways. I proposed on her birthday while we were on vacation in Florida, and, thankfully, she said yes. Both of our families were thrilled. Fast forward 6 months. She's probably put on another 25 pounds. Her situation has become worse, and rather than becoming more secure in our relationship, she has become more comfortable. She's dressing even more plainly, and become even more insecure. I hate to say it, but her insecurity has become such a massive turnoff I don't even initiate intimacy anymore. She rarely does. I'm not saying she has to be a swimsuit model, but I resent the fact that she doesn't even try to woo me or turn me on. She owns sexy clothing, but just doesn't wear it anymore. In fact, she's replaced it with even more modest clothing. After a double date where my friend's wife joked about having action 12 times a day, my fiancé was quiet on the drive home. I could tell something was bothering her. I asked her what was wrong, and she asked why I rarely initiate sex anymore. It took the wind right out of me, and I was definitely caught off guard. What was I going to say? That she got fat and I'd rather just pleasure myself when she's at work? I obviously hadn't crafted an answer that wouldn't crush her already waning self-esteem, so I blamed it on stress at work. She quietly nodded and stared out the window for most of the ride home. I felt awful. I can't imagine myself being in an ex-less, attractionless marriage. I love her to death, but don't find the weight gain and frumpy insecure dressing, the slightest bit sexy. I put effort into my body and want her to be turned on. I'm so resentful she doesn't feel compelled to do the same for me. She even said that if we ever broke up, she'd have to lose some weight first before ever dating again. What the hell? Why not start now? I'm bitter that apparently, I'm not good enough reason to take care of your body. What do I do? We've already spoken before, with kid gloves, about the weight gain when she never used the gym after I bought her a pass, but I feel trapped. I could never imagine myself dumping the woman I love because she got fat, but this is how I feel. She doesn't have to become a gym rat, but a little cardio 2 or 3 days a week wouldn't kill her, and would do wonders for our intimate life. So, how do I handle this next time she asks me about initiating X? Is breaking up with her over this jumping the gun? I'd say so, but would love to hear your thoughts. How do I come to terms with an attractionless relationship, if I'm not convinced she'll start working on her weight? Now for the top advice. So, she now realizes not only that you aren't attracted to her, but that it is so bad you can't even vocalize it. Insecurity comes from that which is unsaid but perceived. You need to be honest with her about your lack of attraction, because she already knows it but feels even worse that nobody will say it to her face. Well put. I consulted a couple of close female friends of mine, who thought she might feel insecure about not being married yet. So, you told your female friends all about your problems with your fiancé, but not your fiancée herself? Sounds like an awesome way to resolve the situation. It sounds like your fiancé is depressed. You need to sit her down, hold her hand and tell her that you are concerned about her health, both physically and mentally, and what you can do to address this. Yes. Gradual weight gain as one ages, is going to happen if you have a sedentary lifestyle. But that's more like 10 pounds a year. 45 pounds in, what was it, 9 months? OP, that is not normal. Your fiancé is probably depressed and / or something else. I hope the two of you will communicate, perhaps with the help of couples counseling, and that you can encourage her to get individual counseling as well. I'm the fat girlfriend in my relationship, and the hardest thing about it is the unspokenness of it. I knew my boyfriend was turned off, but with every excuse he gave, I felt more and more insecure, and it drove my anxiety through the roof not knowing what was going on. In fact, my anxiety and fear of losing him, because I could tell something was wrong but he refused to communicate about it, made me feel paralyzed to actually do anything about my weight. I refused his offers to work out together because I felt judged, and I started binging in secret to deal with the stress. We've now been in therapy for 6 months and it is the best thing we ever could have done. This issue ran deep for us, and it turns out that in working through it, we also are dealing with problems I didn't even know were there. The better I feel emotionally, the more I'm able to take care of my body, and I am starting to lose weight again. Not sure if my story helps at all, but here's my takeaway: the weight isn't the problem, and is probably not the marriage thing either. Truthfully, that's kind of ridiculous. It's something else, either with her, or a dynamic between the two of you. Focusing on the weight is just addressing the symptom, not the cause. I cannot recommend couples counseling enough. I would probably be doing it even if we weren't having problems, it's that transformative. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.